Deku passed the test. I mean, was there any doubt in our minds that he wouldn't say he'd try to save Shigaraki? Good job. He's always being true to himself. What's up? It's Truth Hero, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter review. So Boku no Hero Academia chapter 305 of the manga. We examine this unique request by Shimura Nana, or should I say, test, for Deku. We also look at how Deku may end up saving Shigaraki, and how we could get the identities of the second and third user of One For All real soon. Let's dive in. The chapter opens with Shimura Nana continuing to ask Deku, can you kill Tomura Shigaraki? This is a question of your will and intent. Shimura Nana notes that, of course, Deku and the Vestiges are connected mentally, and therefore everything Deku witnessed in the last battle against Shigaraki, the pain that Deku saw him in, and the face of a crying child, all those feelings Deku had were on full display for all the previous users of One For All. The problem is, just because Deku feels sentimental about this doesn't mean everyone else has the same opinion, and just because Shigaraki is really in pain doesn't mean that he wants help from Deku or anyone else for that matter. All For One's brother also says that by this point, All For One has probably consumed and taken over Shigaraki's mind, or is at least close to getting to that point, and it's just another attempt from the villain king to take One For All from the Vestiges and whoever the current user is, Deku. This is all very interesting, of course, because of what's happened over the last few chapters. Shigaraki broke All For One out of prison, and now that he's free once again, there's still talk about who the true villain king is. We noted through this battle in the last arc that Shigaraki was really struggling in his mind against All For One and saying, it's my turn, don't tell me what to do, and All For One was giving him advice and saying you can't do this alone. And we thought, hey, whose turn is it actually? Is it Shigaraki's turn to shine as the new demon or villain king, or has All For One been pulling the strings the entire time, slowly influencing Shigaraki, and now Shigaraki in this moment of pain, and of course, really he's damaged from the last battle, maybe All For One is now going to take control and show his true nature. Maybe Shigaraki will be cast aside and just will be a vessel for All For One's plan. I really like the idea that All For One has returned, and now Shigaraki is seen by Deku and other characters with an aura of sympathy. This also complicates Deku's plan since he needs to stop All For One while also maybe rescuing Shigaraki. The Vestiges explain that One For All can't be stolen. It's a safeguard for their power, but it requires the user to have an iron will, and right now, Deku may not have this fully, especially given all these events that have happened in the recent arc. This, along with his growing sympathy for Shigaraki and the crying child, might actually be used to Shigaraki's advantage. So far, Shigaraki has gone from a pouty child who got upset when everything didn't go according to plan, to his own League of Villain members questioning, are you really a good leader for us? What is your true goal? To him awakening his power, and then going through this surgery with Dr. Ujiko, and him, in our minds, becoming the true villain king, only to then have to compete with All For One, and now his true intentions are that of a child who is lost. All of this to say now Deku is feeling sympathy for him, and Deku will have to face All For One, or someone's going to have to, and yes, he'll have his friends, but at this point, even if it was nice, even if it's Deku's true character, should Deku even attempt to save Shigaraki? And if so, how should he go about saving Shigaraki while also making sure that he doesn't, reach his full potential and let All For One and the villains slip through their fingers and, let them do whatever they want in Hero Society? I mean, he can't risk letting the villains win because he has a soft spot. So, should Deku save Shigaraki? And if so, how should he do it? Let me know down below in the comments. Nana laments that it was her deciding to try and stop All For One and leaving her son behind that set all this in motion. It's her failure. I don't think this is quite fair, but I understand her grief and her emotions here, especially at the end of the chapter. They need to stop Shigaraki, and soon before he reaches his full potential. So Shimura Nana asks Deku once again, What if Shigaraki is the type of person that can't be rehabilitated? What if he can't be saved? What will you do then? Deku goes on to explain to Nana what we've been talking about. It's that when Shigaraki entered the Vestige world, he sensed his true emotions and could see that All for One was sort of in his head. When he looked deeper and saw Shigaraki's aspirations, there was nothing but a crying, scared child. He goes on to say that he's fought many people and didn't know their true motivations, so he had to defeat them the old-fashioned way by fighting. But for some, if not all, if he knew why they became villains, it could have been different. The panel here is important because it shows Gentle and Labrava for knowing someone's true motivations and backstory. Of course, it's something that you can't know or ascertain when you're currently fighting them and in combat. But it's true, they were just two people that sort of went astray and had good intentions, but became villains. And perhaps if Deku can connect with them and other people like this, he could end up saving them. Deku explains, yes, One for All was created for the explicit purpose of destroying All for One, or at least stopping the man All for One. But throughout the years and its cultivation, its purpose has shifted and morphed. What was once a tool for destruction has actually saved countless people. I mean, look how many people All Might saved just on his own. So Deku goes on to say, listen, I don't know if Shigaraki can be stopped without killing him, and to be honest, I haven't thought about how I would go about doing that, the logistics of that, because, let's be real, who has time to think about that? Who wants to think about that? But he says, if I can, I'd like to save that scared crying child. Congratulations, you've passed the test. What? This wasn't serious? That's right, apparently Shimura Nana and the other vestiges were testing Deku and his resolve to see if this 16-year-old with the green hair can take on this responsibility. And for our sake, as readers of My Hero Academia and this story continuing, and Deku being the perfect vessel for One for All, I'm glad he stayed true to himself and said, yeah, I will try to save him, but I know that I must stop him at all costs, and it's going to be hard, but I'll try. So that's great. It looks like Deku is the perfect person for the job. The fact that this is even mentioned now tells me Deku really will find a way to stop Shigaraki without killing him. It's Avatar The Last Airbender vibes all the way. Aang defeats Fire Lord Ozai by taking his bending, so perhaps Deku will take All for One away from the villain king. And if you remember in the finale of that series, in order for Aang to take Fire Lord Ozai's bending away, his spirit and his resolve needed to be incorruptible, otherwise he would be corrupted and obviously fail at saving the world. Well, it's a similar situation here. Deku needs to have that iron resolve of One for All if he's going to save Shigaraki and defeat All for One. Otherwise, if he doesn't have it, Shigaraki and All for One will take advantage of his sympathy, and the villains will ultimately take over the world. Speaking of taking quirks, could Deku actually gain this power? The second and third users, as well as the sixth user, Kohai, who is briefly introduced, may have abilities that could aid him in this. I think it's a cool possibility that Deku could defeat All for One by not killing him or killing Shigaraki, but instead just taking his powers away. I mean, what's a villain king in a hero society without superpowers? This also ensures that Deku does have a way to save Shigaraki if All for One takes over his body or fuses their bodies and consciousness. At the very least, Shigaraki would come out of this battle just not having any quirks. And for him, honestly, for that scared child that doesn't want that horrible ability that destroyed his family, that's kind of a win-win for everyone in this situation, except for All for One, but he's the villain and hopefully he'll get what he deserves. A note on the second and third users, because guys, I'm excited as you are to see this. We might get their identities in the next chapter, but it seems that yes, they're turned away, but now I'm thinking it's not because Deku isn't allowed to see who they are, or that they're ashamed of showing their face or identity, or they're not in good standing among the users of One for All. Now I'm thinking that they don't accept Deku into their ranks. There has been discussion among the previous users if Deku, and I'm sure in the past if other successors of, the brother of All for One were the right choice to hold One for All. So it seems to me that the second and third users, especially because not much is known about them, and because they come from such a dangerous time when All for One was in power, maybe they don't truly accept Deku as the successor yet. And maybe this chapter is what's allowing them to finally do that, because they see his iron will developing and his true intentions. So I hope that if that's the case, Deku can somehow prove himself to them. And of course, we all want to see who they really are. One thing to have in your mind for the future of My Hero Academia is Shigaraki's development. We see Nana saying that we need to stop him before he gets those butterfly wings and reaches his full potential. Well, there could be a theme where Shigaraki and that scared child actually achieves their true aspiration, which, if you remember, it's what his father never wanted him to do, but it's what his grandmother did. Shigaraki, like Gentle and La Brava, who became villains, just wanted to be a hero. There could be a point down the line, way in the future, way past, I don't know, seasons and seasons of anime and arcs, who knows how long this will go on for. But when Deku finally faces All for One with his friends, and then we have that final battle, perhaps Shigaraki, even if it's just for one moment, could become a hero. Perhaps he could sacrifice himself in helping Deku defeat All for One. And if you don't think this is a possibility in one moment, and redemption can't happen just like that, I'd like to remind you that Horikoshi is a huge fan of Star Wars. Star Wars, the original trilogy, is not about Luke. It's about Darth Vader. And in that one moment, where Darth Vader picks up Emperor Palpatine and throws him over the edge, he gains his redemption. He saves his son Luke. So Shigaraki could save his friend Deku by helping to destroy All for One. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I know, shorter review, but let me know down below in the comments. How will Deku attempt to save Shigaraki and rescue this scared crying child? Will Shigaraki actually help Deku eventually defeat All for One? And my goodness, what are the second and third users of One for All, identities, and true quirks? Love to hear your theories. If you like My Hero Academia content and these chapter reviews, consider enrolling at UA today by subscribing. And until next time, hero or villain, plus ultra.